I've recently returned from Asia and during the trip made a short side trip to South Korea, specifically to retrace a few steps taken back in 1988. 35 years ago, I was aiming for Vancouver, Canada. I missed. Spent the day at Chicago's O'Hare Airport trying to stand by for a flight to Vancouver or even Seattle, and ended up watching at least 4 flights push back from the gate with every seat full. Giving up and heading for the exit to go home, past the flight going to Seoul. United Airlines, my employer, was operating a temporary nonstop there for the Summer Olympics, which were held at the end of September for some reason. Asked at the gate if there were seats available, and the agent told me there were business class seats, so I got on the plane for the 16-hour flight. Found a cheap hotel in Seoul that stuffed their pillows with rocks, and the next morning went to the train station, got a timetable, and checked out the map. I decided to do a triangle route and jumped on a train. South Korea had an interesting diesel-powered operation with familiar models like off-the-shelf EMD SD9s plus EMD and ALCO export models. Number crunchers stick around. The specifics of the South Korea diesels and electrics will be covered at the end of the video. Second day in, I see on the map what looks like the route going through what may be a scenic area along the river. In the old days we didn't have a satellite view, just had to guess. I was not wrong. Getting off at Samnanjin, I was treated to a gorgeous river valley surrounded by mountains and stellar blue skies. I walked all the way to Wondong, a distance of about 6 miles, then took a train to Busan. Train the next day to Seoul and an afternoon flight home. Had to get back to work. Fast forward to the present. The original plan A was to ride a ferry from main Japan to Okinawa and then to fly to Taiwan. I decided to take a ferry to South Korea instead. Always wanted to return to that valley and was anxious to see what changed, for in the interim, Korea had invested heavily in rail. Most everything has been electrified, grade separated, and fenced. High-speed trains now have a top speed of 190 miles an hour. Some of the fastest are French TGV clones. I rented a car in Busan and drove up there with the goal of trying to get some similar angles. I knew that it was going to be near impossible because of the changes, but it just sounded like fun. First move was to sniff around the south end near Wondong trying to find these angles, but it was just ugly with fences and vegetation. This grade crossing was now an underpass. Next, up and around to the north where it was the same story. Then, parked the car where the road access ends. It was a little early for the light to be good where I was heading, so I did some photography in the area. Angles that were missed back in 1988. About 5 or 6 trains later, probably about an hour, it was time to hike in. 35 years ago, the only way through was along the tracks. Through this area, the only option was to walk along the narrow top of the retaining wall. I was not very happy about that. Now there's a new bike path along the river shore, much of it out over the water on a bridge. I found a single place that was climbable to track level where I could shoot over the fence, conveniently very near the spot I shot from in 1988. The light had not swung around enough for my liking, so after 3 trains came in quick succession, I decided to hike further in to see if there was a way to get to the spot I really wanted. I knew it may be impossible as the tracks were now all fenced and gated and there were cameras too. It was disappointing to find that I was correct. I wonder if one day someone with a key can be found to let me in. The sun was moving into a better position, so I hiked back to the other tunnel, scrambled up the side, and forced my way along the new fence on the wall through the thorny vegetation to try and get a clear shot around all the greenery. Though it took some effort and my pants were ripped in the process, I was now awkwardly and uncomfortably sitting on top of the fence with a sheer drop on one side and trespassing on the other. All I needed was one nice southbound. They started coming, one after the other, all in the wrong direction. The way I was sitting, couldn't turn around, so ended up blindly shooting over my shoulder. Some were somewhat successful, others not so much. Perched painfully on the top bar of the fence for nearly an hour, I was losing feeling in my feet. This going away shot of a high-speed KTX train set was as close as I got to a now shot of a modern passenger train. Then a light power move came howling past. It crossed over in the distance at Samningen and came roaring back southbound. It was too painful to sit there any longer, so I clawed my way back through the thorns and started to hike out. Of course, as per the rule, the train will come when you give up and leave. I spent the next 2 days exploring the area north. After returning the car, managed to find one more then and now photo opportunity at the Busan train station before heading to the airport for a flight to Taiwan. The story is over, but for the hardcore, what follows is some info on the locos and high-speed trains from 1988 and 2023. The internet says these unique EMDs were ordered because they wanted a more streamlined look for the trains during the Summer Olympics. These are right off the shelf EMD SD9s. Another familiar North American face, similar to the SDP-40. These next 3 EMD models were widely exported all over the world. The builder's plate says Elco, but these critters were repowered with EMD prime movers. And now a segue to the present. The GT26CW and GT26CW-2s were the only diesels I saw in 1988 that were still seen again on the 2023 visit, seemingly still in large quantities, still used in freight and passenger. Many of the EMD export models were built in Korea under license. These multi-purpose units are the newest diesels in Korea. These are similar to the German Class 152 and related to the Amtrak ACS-64 City Sprinter. I could find surprisingly little info on these electrics on the internet and only saw one on the recent trip. High-speed rail began over 20 years ago with the introduction of TGV clones. The first were built in France, with production soon moving to Korea. They were followed by entirely Korean-built and designed train sets. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the other videos on my channel.